Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. On this episode, we have a university groundskeeper. There's a lot of interesting and just very good information about this field if this is something you want to get into. And also towards the end, there's a nice little section on longboarding that just finds fascinating. I think you really enjoy this episode. As usual, if you know someone or you would like to be on the show, you can reach us at TakeMeTYD@gmail.com or at TakeMeTYD on all social media. Enjoy the show.
So I am a greenskeeper, so I do the maintenance. And with time, of course, you can move up. You can become an assistant superintendent, and then you can become the superintendent. That's kind of the chain of command as it comes through the university, and that's how it is through a lot of golf courses as well. But as a university, you deal with more than just one type of playing surface. So you're dealing with the soccer field, you're dealing with the baseball field, you're dealing with artificial turf, real turf, all that kind of stuff. So as a greenskeeper, my job is to do the lower end kind of stuff, because I'm still pretty early on in my career. But for the most part, it is some of the more crucial ends at that point.
Okay, well, what I was stumbling over a minute ago was this has something to do with what you went to college for. Correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Or going to college. So you're currently in college, right?
Yeah, so I graduate in May, and I have a degree. I will have a degree in turf management.
Turf management. Okay,
Yes.
I want to back up just a little bit before we get into it. In high school, did you have a general idea of what you wanted to do?
Absolutely not. I thought I was going to be doing physics or engineering and.
Okay, so let's go from there. You graduate high school, then what? What's the next thought? What's the move?
So I graduated high school, and I was working at movie theater, and then I came to school, and I dropped my physics class, my introductory physics class, to take horticulture, because the physics class, I read bad things about the professor, and I got shied away from it. So I took horticulture. It's like, I need a science credit. Like, this will be sufficient. Take it. Love the class. Declare my major in winemaking.
Okay.
Do the year as winemaking, and then I come home to the West Coast, and I work for a golf course, and I loved it. So I switched my concentration, same major, just different concentration, from winemaking to turf management, and then I've been there since.
Just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Right,
So those are that closely related,
Mhm.
winemaking and turf management?
Yeah, because horticulture is just the general science and very practical management of plants in general.
Okay, so that's the generalization.
Yeah, so I mean, you can
Okay.
do anything from landscape architecture to winemaking, turf management, nursery management, whatever. There's, 10 or 15 different concentrations in that major.
Was there a specific thing that while you were taking these classes that really stood out to you that got you excited about it to kind of focus on that?
Yeah, and it wasn't even turf management. It was irrigation that really, really got me hooked on it.
Right.
Turf management was kind of like an introductory, like, hey, like this field is really cool. And then, so I did that, and then I took just a basic irrigation class on landscape irrigation. Really liked the class, got offered an internship in Texas doing that. I'd be an irrigation technician down at Dallas for the summer, so I did that. Loved it, absolutely loved it. So that's kind of the angle I've been pursuing lately. But
Okay, now I'm going to bounce around a little bit and then we'll get into your actual day.
yeah.
But what is the end goal? You graduate, you have your degree. What is the ideal move?
Either own a business, retire early. Just
It's a great one, all right.
My thing is whatever I want to do, I want to be really good doing it, and I want to love doing it. That's the very important thing for me.
I think that's an excellent goal.
Yeah.
What specifically, if you were to own your own business, what are the types of businesses that you could get yourself into?
So right now, if I were to own a business, it is something that I would like to do, but I know if my career takes me in the directions, that's just, the way the life goes. But if I were to own a business, I would probably fall under the private landscaping business, just working with, homeowners and just, maybe HOAs and residential properties, working from that. I'm not a big fan of commercial working for businesses. Bigger properties tends to be a bit more difficult to work with the owner.
Yeah.
When you're working with a residential property, it's much easier to come to the owner and be like, hey, I'm working on your house is your investment, these are the problems, and this is what these problems can, affect your foundation, these can affect the sake of your home. If you tell a business owner that, like, oh, I don't give a shit about my building, like, I'm just here for 10 years and I'm moving, so
Exactly.
it's much different.
Well, I'm trying to just put a strict differential line between, someone who just gets the idea to landscape right out of high school versus someone like you who's going for the degree, like whole hog.
Yeah.
Now, you say you don't want to work on the larger scale, so where is that middle ground of, like, I want to do this, but I'm also highly qualified in this particular area?
Well, what I've learned in the last couple of years is it's not about, like, for example, if you go to a property and you land a $60,000 drainage deal, big whoop. But if you can't put that in well, if you can't do it to the point where they don't need somebody to come out and fix it and redo it 10 years down the line, like, that's something that my education has provided me to be able to do, to be able to put in that drainage system that can last, a lifetime.
So this is above and beyond any kind of regular lawn maintenance type of...
Exactly. For me, it's about going in, doing it efficiently, doing it effectively, and, if it saves the customer a dime or two, then it does. If it doesn't, that's business. But in the end, it's all about doing it right the first time.
Okay,
So
and is it...
What kind of jobs, like, what can you list a couple of jobs that you would be doing? So you said you could do drainage pipes, you could do what else?
So there's irrigation installation, maintenance, repairs. Those are the big three, at least in the irrigation field. When it comes to turf management, I mean, you can do golf course construction, golf course maintenance. You can go into residential landscaping, just basic stuff. You mow someone's lawn every week and you prune their rhododendrons or what have you. You can go into arboriculture, which is just tree maintenance, which that is a whole field on its own. I'm definitely not qualified for that. But it's like, I have this big, wide field in front of me that I get to pick and choose from. But there's a very specific area that the turf management specializes in, and that's when it comes to grass maintenance. So it's like, I would be the one coming in, like, fertilizing, putting in pesticides, herbicides, what have you, mowing, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just to put a button on this, and then we'll get into your day. If someone was leaning towards this in college, like someone's thinking about it, what would push them over the edge? What are those kind of things that would really, spark their interest or get them really excited about getting a career in this field?
Well, the thing that really got me interested was working. So most people just work this job seasonally. They mostly just see the summer, because it's like the winter, everything dies down, it's pretty slow. But seeing how the grass goes into dormancy before the winter and it looks like it's dead, but really it's stocking up nutrients down under the ground in the roots, and it's ready to just blow up in the spring. Like, understanding exactly how that works to a biological standard is just blew my mind. Like, I learned about all this stuff in botany and my turf science classes, and then I got this job that I work now, and to see that firsthand is just mind-blowing. It's, just to be able to actually say, like, to be able to back up what I learned is incredible.
The proof right there in your face.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me trust my professors a lot more.
Okay, so let's get into the job now.
Yeah.
What just so we have an idea, just because you were talking about the different seasons and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what state are you in
Currently, like,
what's
today?
your job? Where do you work?
So so I work for a university out west.
All right.
And at this point of the year, it's a bit slower because it's December, but there's still things that need to be done. So it may not even be from a turf standpoint. So, like, right now we have these turf tarps put down over the field because soccer is going to start up in 2 months or so. Mm-hmm. To keep the grass green. We put turf tarps down maybe a month ago, and what it does is it traps the heat into the soil, keeps the grass green, so that when the soccer season rolls around, we can eliminate the dormancy period by maybe 2 months.
Wow.
So we can being able to manipulate the fields and control the the environment that the grass grows in can help us extend these plaguing periods.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's a lot of little
very,
things.
Yeah, very intense.
Yeah.
Like, not even thinking this existed, like, to somebody that doesn't even think about something like that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I love episodes where we have to know it. I didn't even know that was a thing. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into the job. What time do you go in?
So if I'm working a normal 8-hour day, say in the summer, because
Okay.
it's rare.
Yeah, you just give me a general day.
Yeah. So I'm showing up. I'm at the shop at 7. I'm sitting down at the table, and it's me, the 2 other greenskeepers I work with, and then our 3 upper level managers. We have like a lower level manager who does the softball. We have a mid level manager who's the assistant superintendent, he takes care of soccer and track, and then we have our upper level manager who does all the paperwork. And since I work for a university, it's a state school, so we work for the government. So there's lots of numbers that need to be very accurate. So you basically need to dedicate somebody full time to take care of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So I show up at 7, and do you want me to just walk you through a full day?
Well, I just want to know when you start. Let's back up just a hair. What time do you wake up in the morning?
I mean, if it's in the summer, I'm usually up at 6. If it's in the winter, I'm up at 6:30.
Okay, what's your commute time? How long does it take you to get from home to
I
work?
mean, so it's on the south side of campus, and I live on the north side of campus. I live just across the street from the school.
Okay.
So it's a 10-minute walk through campus for me. It's very easy.
So morning routine wise, do you set an alarm?
Yeah. I have about 6 or 7 alarms on my phone.
Okay. And the final one is 6 o'clock?
The final one is usually around 6:15, but I'm usually up before that one. That's the emergency
the
one.
safety net.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
it's extra loud.
Yeah, that's when I turn on the what's it called? The siren alarm.
Oh, yeah. Last ditch effort.
Yeah.
Get up. Okay, so just run us through just a real quick idea of your morning routine. You wake up, you hit that final alarm, you're up.
Yeah.
What are you doing before you're out the door?
If I'm up at 6, then I get up. The first thing I do is I put all my clothes on, I put my boots on, and then I go out, brush my teeth, and then I go into the kitchen, make a quick oatmeal, grab a banana, sit down on the couch for a little bit, just watch whatever's on the news for maybe 20 minutes, and then I just start walking. Maybe if it's nice out, I'll take my bike. I can sit down for another 5 or 10 minutes, so that's usually about it.
Now, the walk or the bike to work, are you listening to anything, or you just kind of just taking it all in?
I always got headphones in.
What are you listening to?
Man.
Generally speaking.
I have been really into 80s, 90s rap, specifically West Coast.
Good stuff.
A lot of Craig Mack, Warren G. That's usually the morning stuff for the most part.
I usually get down with that in the morning.
I usually transition to a bit of like electronic, like freeform bass kind of throughout the day. I listen to there's like a lot of Bass Nectar, a lot of Liquid Stranger, a lot of weird stuff throughout the day. Because one of the things I like about my job is not only am I outside, but I get to listen to music all day because I'm usually by myself.
Nice.
And if I'm not by myself, I got somebody who likes to talk. So
yeah,
that's
a good balance.
That sounds sweet.
I like that. Okay, so now this brings us up to the beginning of your day. So it's 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
You're there with you're sitting at the table with all these other people.
Yeah.
What is the next move? Are you just discussing what you do for the day, or how is that?
Well, usually we're talking shit about each other because that's just what we do. My bosses love college football.
Okay.
Cut that out. The university that I work for's team is particularly terrible.
Okay.
We're going to do a bowl game in probably about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always something to complain about.
Yeah.
So they're always talking about that. But we have a little whiteboard right next to the table with a list of things that we need to get done. And me and the other greenskeepers we're all college students. Like, we're all about to graduate. So they see us, they treat us as if we're in high school, but they give us the freedom to kind of do what we need to do when we need to do. They let us call our shots, basically. So it's like, we'll go up to the whiteboard and be like, okay, we have to do items 1 through 10. We're going to do 4, 5, and 6 today, and then we're going to do 8 once the field dries up.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. So we get a pretty good We get to call our own shots, which is great. I love it. But there's always something to do, especially in the summer.
Okay, so let's just to keep things concise. Let's call this day a summer day.
Yeah.
You hit that whiteboard, you get everything going. What are some typical things that you're going to go straight from that to do?
So a lot of the things that we do consistently, like 2 or 3 times a week, is mowing and painting. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll mow first and then we'll paint. You can't...
What do you mean by paint?
So if you show up to a real grass... So it's like if you go to an artificial field, the lines are always there, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like the football field never changes, right? But if you go to an artificial grass, that grass is growing, and that paint, every time you cut it, there's a little less paint, right? So you have to consistently keep painting that.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense.
So we have to paint, depending on the field, once, twice a week. And, but you can't, you got to cut and then you got to paint. You can't paint and then cut, or else that's just, you're wasting grass.
You're just wasting it. Just out of my curiosity, what is the painting apparatus like? Is it something? Is it a push something?
It's so heavy. Oh my god!
Just give me his. Paint me a picture. Okay. Give me a description.
So you got bicycle handles.
Okay.
And you got a brake. Mm-hmm. It looks like somebody sawed off the top of a bike, and then put it on like a tricycle. And then there's a big 5-gallon Home Depot bucket full of paint. Okay. And a loud ass pump. That's just like a good summary. But
I get it.
But like when you squeeze the brake, it's not actually a brake. It shoots the paint out. So you have a little spray paint can on the side that just shoots paint into the ground. And the paint is obviously specific for grass. But what my boss does is he'll put in a growth regulator. So what it does is it slows down the rate that the grass can grow.
Just where the paint is.
So you have to paint less often because the grass doesn't grow as much. Mm-hmm. So you're not exposing as much of that green surface.
It makes sense.
Yeah, but this thing is a beater. We've had it for like 15 years, I think.
I'm still trying to piece it together. So is it on one wheel?
No. So you got like, imagine like a little tricycle, but the front wheel is like a little swivel, like a little shopping cart wheel.
I gotcha.
So you have to push up the front and turn it when you want to turn around or anything. Mm-hmm. There's no it doesn't actually turn. It goes really straight, which is great, which is really good for painting. But the way we'll do it is so we have this really long, really thin string. It's probably like 2 or 3 millimeters thick. And what we'll do is we'll have 2 people stand, one on either end of the field, and we'll make sure the line's straight because they're kind of like these little, they're like implanted into the field permanently, but they're just a little bit different color than the grass, but to mark the actual exact dimensions of the field. Yeah. So we line the rope up with that because as the grass grows, the line kind of shifts a little bit. So we'll line that up and then we'll just paint right over that line. And then we'll move it to the next line and do that. And then we'll rotate it and do the sides and all the inner sides and everything, so...
I get it. Yeah. Well, I do have a strange question, though. Is there a level... I mean, I'm sure there's some level of it, but what's the training like for you to be the guy that runs the paint tricycle?
The training involves going to the band field.
Okay.
The band field, it's bumpy. Nobody cares about it. So if you could draw a diagonal line across it and nobody would give a shit. Nice. And the boss is just like, all right, here's a paint machine. Here's my boy Harry. He's going to show you what to do. And then Harry goes out there, he sits on the sideline smoking a cigarette, and he's like, all right, you push it that way, and then you're going to push back. And you just, after a week or two, you kind of get it figured out.
I'm glad I asked, because I wanted a good specific answer like that. Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah. Okay, so let's say that's your day, and you're mowing and you're painting. Mm-hmm. How long would that typically take you?
I mean, it depends on what I'm mowing, because when we mow soccer, we have a training field, which is a bit wider than the average, like a traditional soccer game field. Then we have the game field. And then there's this crappy AstroTurf artificial field right next to it, but there's this weird outer layer. So we have to mow the outer layer, too. But I don't know if you guys have ever seen somebody, mow a fairway before. It's very precise. They go slow. They go straight.
Specific.
They pick up the reels, they turn around, they line it up, and then they go again. It takes a while, and my boss likes to do patterns. So it's a little more intricate. We'll do checkerboard or do double U's or what have you. So, mowing the soccer complex usually takes about 2.5, maybe 3 hours. 3 hours if I'm doing it.
So how intense is one of those patterns to do? Like
You just commit it to memory. It just starts making sense after a while. Like the checkerboard, it just makes, it's so hard to explain. It's like, because there's these rollers that push the grass one direction, and it actually changes the shade of the grass how you see it because of how the sun's hitting it.
Yeah.
So like when you see those beautiful stripes on a golf course, the grass between the stripes, like on the light stripes, the grass is folded this way, and the dark stripes, the grass is folded the other way.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of the same way with the golf course, but you kind of learn how to manipulate that, and you can do these intricate patterns as in like a checkerboard, or you can do giant circles or whatever. So it just depends on what my boss is feeling that day.
So how hard is the mower to use to do something like that? Is it like you're back and forth to do each checker pattern? Or...
No. It's actually really easy. So every time you're basically making it pass through the entire field every time that you cut. So it's like you'll go from left to right, and you'll go from like one side to the other, and you'll have one line, then you go back and you'll do the other. But when you do that, you have a dark line and you have a light line. And you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you have striped lines throughout the whole field. And then you'll change your direction and you'll go across those lines.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not... Okay. You're not doing each individual
No.
back and
No.
forth.
So what type of mower are we talking? And you can get brand specific if you want.
Yeah, so we have a really shitty old Toro that it cuts great. The reels are really old, but they're sharp, and that's all that matters. Runs good. I mean, we do maintenance on it. We do maintenance on almost all the machines every winter. Like this time of year, this is the time of year to bring the mowers into the shop, rip them apart, change all the fluids, figure out where the kinks are, do that kind of stuff. Because our budget's not great since we work for school.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a lot of Toros. We have a big John Deere for the IM fields. We have this lady Brenda. She cuts all the IM fields by herself. She will cut. So there's 13 intramural fields. Each IM field is about the size of a full-size soccer field. She'll cut 13 of those in a day and go through a pack and a half of cigarettes.
Jesus.
Yeah, and she'll do it 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year.
It's intense.
Yeah.
What are the specifics for the uninitiated? Like we're talking push mowers, we're talking riding mowers, we're talking those weird mowers that you kind of stand on 2 feet on the back of. What do you do?
They're almost all riding mowers.
Okay.
We have this one for all the fields that we cut with patterns and everything, and the IMs and everything. Always a riding mower.
Okay.
It's just way more efficient. You can get 4, even 5 times the width of a push mower.
You can smoke way more cigarettes.
Exactly. It's way more efficient, especially for your health. But we do have one. We have this one. It's a little Walkman or a walker mower. That's what we call it. And it's like that typical, like you see your neighbor shirtless, big old beer belly, cigar in his mouth, rolling around in the front yard, bouncing up and down, but he's got the mower right under his feet, that kind of thing. Yeah. He's got that. So we use that for edging. Because there's some places you can't get, a 15-foot wide mower in.
Exactly.
So you got to put that thing in there. And then the things that can't get, we bring in a weed whacker.
Oh, yeah.
So about once or twice a week, we have to go edge everything, which takes about 4 hours to edge the whole campus.
Yeah, I imagine that would take a little bit longer. If you
between two of us, yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to you cutting and painting.
Yeah.
So it takes 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that brings us to what, 10 o'clock?
Sure. Yeah.
What's the next move? You're done.
Yeah.
You've cut. You've painted. What's next?
Well, this is just whatever needs to be done needs to get done. So it's like if I need to go to softball and put the batting nets up, I need to go do that.
Okay.
If I need to go put chalk down in softball, or I need to go rake the field, or put down some new warning track, or whatever needs to be done, whatever's on that list on the whiteboard has to get done. Especially if there's a game day coming up on the weekend, somebody's got to get out there and do it.
Okay, so just for the sake of all-encompassing the entire day, give me a rundown of just some standard whiteboard, just check marks. Like, what are we going to knock out? Yeah.
So obviously mowing, there's painting, trimming is those are the big three. Those are the three that are almost always on the board.
Yes.
And then we trash a lot. So we are in charge of all the trash cans that are on the field of the stadium. Not in the stadium, just on the field of the stadium. Thank God. There's only 3 of them, not 40. So we have to do that. That only takes like an hour, but we usually milk it a little bit. So those are the big ones. And then there's a lot of errand running sometimes. Like we need a new tire for the John Deere. So we'll have to go run down to Huska's or whatever and have to get that fixed. And, we'll have to take the truck out somewhere and go grab a different part for this, that, or whatever. And but for the most part, it's just mowing, trimming, painting, and trashing. Those are the big ones.
Okay. So for the whiteboard, I was thinking about this since we started it. Does somebody just write that down for you guys, or is it like a group effort?
It's for the most part, it's between the superintendent and the assistant super. They're the ones who do most of the writing on that board. But for example, if I go out and I'm like, holy crap, somebody just dug a hole in the IMs. Like, this is an example. This doesn't actually happen. If I'm like, somebody just dug a 5-foot trench in the IMs, I'm like, I'm going to go right down the board and be like, we have to backfill this and seed it. So it's like, it's a collective effort, but my boss, like my super, is the one who goes out once, twice a week, and he surveys everything, and he just makes sure everything is looking good, and you get a second set of eyes on everything, which is great. So just depends on, like, he in the end has a final say, really.
Well, that makes sense. You get someone in charge of like making sure that everything is up to board. What are some of the lesser known things that would pop up on there, or some things that have popped up once that you were like, what?
Oh my gosh.
And we'll get to funny stories too. So you can throw them in wherever you want.
Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. We've had a couple irrigation leaks, which is very uncommon because the irrigation system it's old, but it hasn't needed maintenance in 20, 30 years. But they knew I had a background in irrigation. So there's this big leak on the soccer field, and they brought me out, and they're like, you need to fix this. And it was like, this is like 9 a.m. in the morning. It's summer, so it's at least nice out. I leave at 5 p.m. that night. I'd been there it was a 10-hour day, and I was just digging this hole. I was trying to find the leak, and I just destroyed this corner. Just absolutely destroyed it. And because I'd never dug up sports turf before. Because like when you're digging in residential, you can just kind of fuck up their grass, and it's okay. Like you can, because you kind of patch it back together, you give it a couple weeks, and it grows back in. It looks all right. It's not level, but it looks good. When you're doing that on a soccer field, you're bringing the ruler out. And you're cutting you're cutting foot squares out at a time, maybe 2 feet or whatever. So you know exactly where everything goes, because that field has to be level, because you're talking about the safety of people's ACLs out there. People break ankles over this kind of stuff, and so I just destroyed this corner. I fixed the leak, thank God. But it was just so uneven, and I was just like, I did such a good job. But I'd never done this with sports turf, but they also left me unsupervised, so I didn't know. And my boss comes out the next day. He's so upset. We had to dig the whole thing up, and
what?
And he ended up cracking a pipe when he was digging it up, so we had to fix that too. And the whole corner's just been a touchy subject for the last year, but. So that's some of the lesser seen kind of stuff. Is these irrigation leaks, they hardly ever pop up, but when they do, it's just a shit show.
Is there anything I'm trying to think of something like super random that would have been on that whiteboard.
I'm trying to think of something that's happened.
Like something crazy.
Gosh, I
know senior pranks are more of like a high school senior thing, but is anything crazy happened?
People steal our banners. So like we have these big banners that say like the name of the school and like the mascot and everything. And we hang them, like we get like one of those, like not like a staple gum, but they bend these like metal binds around like the fence, so you can hook up a banner. You know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of it. But people will come and they will cut out the name, and they will just take it and put it in their house. And so
college.
Yeah, exactly. So it was last year. It was like in March, and I noticed. I was like, oh shit, this got cut out. So I go to my super. I'm like, hey man, like the banner got cut out again. He's like, all right, take it down. I'll order another one. I go to a party like 2 weeks later, hanging in the living room of this guy's house, and I was like, oh, like if I weren't a student, I would say something, but like, props to you for cutting that out, because that's like that shit was like Kevlar. Like it's not easy to cut through. Like
Oh yeah.
that dude was there for an hour cutting it out.
Is it high or up too? Like,
No. It's like a fence that goes like it's like a 7-foot fence.
I just picture this dude like on 20 feet up in the air, like.
Yeah.
Gonna look great at my party.
Yeah, but no, there's a lot of student vandalism. Just it's you're at a college, like these kids get drunk and they fuck everything up. Like that's just like I'm guilty of it. It's just like that's just the reality of it.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. All right. So, before we get into the end of your day, do you have any like stories that stick out to you? Do you have any particular, I don't know, pet peeves, days that you'll never forget, things that you can't unsee?
I'm just trying to think. I have had some cool things happen.
Let's go with some cool things.
They're not big, but like this. It was just in the winter, and I was just like in the winter. I usually show up at 9.
Huh.
The guy who runs the softball facility picks me up because he's a step below the assistant super, so he's technically a greenskeeper, but he has a lot more responsibility. So he'll pick me up he'll take his cart off campus, pick me up from my house in his cart, which is not allowed.
Yeah.
We'll go drive around campus for an hour or two, shoot the shit, and then he'll drive me home. Clock me until 1. But this one time we were driving around, and I found this it was like a brand new box of Adidas. Brand new Adidas box.
Mm-hmm.
Sambas. 11.5. My exact shoe size. And I was like, do you guys have a lost and found? He was like, hell no, man. I usually just keep it or throw it out. And I was like, sick. So now I got a free pair of Sambas.
Oh yeah, what are the chances?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
My size too. Thank you.
That's when I was like, okay, I'm either keeping these or be a good person, but I was not. So
I mean, that's a sign.
So stuff like that.
Are you kidding me?
Stuff like that kind of happens sometimes, but I haven't had anything crazy happen. I would think that something would have happened because it's at a university, we did have this event. There's an event every year where the students run a mile in their underwear for charity. Yeah. Everybody just gets drunk and runs around.
Yeah, exactly. We do that here. It's nothing to do with schools.
Exactly.
It's just drunk hipsters.
Exactly. So I had to work the next day, of course, after participating, and there's just underwear all over the softball field. So whose job was it to pick it up but me? So there's that kind of stuff sometimes, but.
So it's kind of funny, like, we have to touch on this because I know we talked about it before off podcast, but just everyone's winging it, and it seems like everybody in your whole vicinity is winging it because like, you never know what's going to happen.
So there's 3 levels to this. There's 1, has their shit together. 2, winging it. 3, absolutely blowing it. And I could say for a fact that my super is absolutely blowing it. He's one of those guys who's only at his job for the pension because it's a government job, so his retirement's going to be great. But dude makes like 45, 50K. He's been doing this shit for his whole life. And he misallocated like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they like everybody lost their OT, and like they lost their budget, and like it was a total disaster over the summer. So just like I like to think these guys are winging it, but I also realize that I am doing a better job than my boss sometimes because I know that I'm like, okay, I don't have to stay here.
Hey,
Yeah,
government jobs.
we've all been
Exactly. Yeah.
I
exactly
do
what
want
it
to
is.
double back a little bit because we kind of glossed over it. But when we talk about like the routines of like getting into the job or leaving the job, you said that there's like a clock out type of situation. What is the like showing up and leaving protocol?
Oh, it's so awesome. It's like I show up if I'm like 5 minutes late, like nobody cares. If I'm
like, is there a physical punch clock?
No.
Or are you just like signing in and getting someone to be like, what's up?
It's like I show up. There's supposed to be like an online sign-in system, but it doesn't work with the iPhone, so I get away with it, which is cool.
Nice.
I would buy an iPhone. That would be sense to buy an iPhone.
So I go through my day. Sometimes I show up later, sometimes I show up earlier, or whatever. And then at the end of the day, I get a binder. I have a binder. I write my name. I write what I did. I write when I showed up, and I write when I leave. and I wrote when I took my lunch and everything, and I always just write 7. And my boss is just like, sometimes I'll show up at 9, like in the winter, and I'll leave at 11. He's like, all right, just, you showed up at 7 today, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, cool. And you're leaving in 2 hours? And I was like, uh-huh, right? Give him the wink and everything.
Yeah, no doubt.
You just write in 7 to 1 and get out of there a little early.
What is the lunch? Because we didn't touch on that at all. Is there like a set, like, hey, it's lunchtime, or you're just like, it's whenever I get a little free time?
In this industry, it's not just this job, it's just the industry. It's like when you take it when you have the time.
Yeah.
Especially like when I was in Texas, we'd have 4 appointments a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes your first appointment would take you 5 hours. Other times it would take you 20 minutes. So it was always just, if you could find the time anywhere between 12 and 2, you just take it. Because you don't know when you're going to have that opportunity again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of people we've talked to like that.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of situation in this job.
Are you required to take a lunch? Because I know some jobs it's legal,
but
they have to.
Sometimes they're just like, sometimes I'll just I'll be there for 4 hours, because at least in the West Coast, it's if you work more than 5 hours, you're required a half an hour lunch, like an unpaid lunch. Here it's the same, or where I work, it's the same. So it's kind of like, it's like if I'm done at like 11, or if I'm done at like 12, I can be like, hey, can I just leave, but you just pay me till 12:30? And they're just like, yeah, so just write it in the book.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. As long as they're cool.
Yeah, no, they're very cool, because they also don't give a shit, which is the cool part. So
what particularly are you doing for lunch? What's an average lunch for you?
So towards the beginning of my job, I'd always bring it lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd always make a little. I got really into tuna and like throwing a little jalapenos, some mayo.
Well, give me the whole rundown. What are you making?
Yeah,
What's
a
lunch?
little salt, pepper, sometimes a little Cajun if I'm feeling it, and then I would do a bag of some like kind of smart chip or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes if I was cheaping out, I'd get some Doritos or something.
Why not?
And then I always drink water. Like I only drink water or coffee, really, or beer. But towards the end of the job, because when you don't work a lot of hours and you get overpaid, it's really easy to take your money for granted.
Yeah.
We would go out to eat because there's all these restaurants on campus. There's Panda Express, there's Taco Bell, there's all this kind of stuff.
All the staples for college kids.
Exactly. So we just like, me and the other Greenskeepers kind of got into the same mindset, and we're like, fuck it, we're going out tonight or today. And then it was like the next day you show up to work, you're like, okay, we're doing it again. So that was usually kind of how that went.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's like when you start a job, you want to give a good impression that you're like good with your money and like you're healthy and all this shit, and then you kind of realize that everybody's washed up and doesn't give a crap. And you're like, okay.
You hit that week too, and you're like, we're garbage people, right? We can just eat Taco Bell and we're fine.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so at the end of the day, how do you wrap up in general? Is there a routine, or is just you're done with the tasks, and then it's just like, all right.
Well, it's kind of like if you start at 7, you're done at 3.
Okay.
Ideally. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if like something comes, like if it's like 2:45 and you have to get something done because there's a game the next day, like you get it done. Like that's expected of you.
Yeah, of course.
But it's like if it's like 1:30 and they expect you to mow, or not mow, that's a bad example, sorry. Mowing's necessary. If they expect you to paint, I mean, you're just going to be like, hey, like, I can do this, but like I'm off in a half an hour. I'm supposed to be off in a half an hour. They're like, most of the time they're just kind of like, just go home, do it tomorrow. It's not a big deal, which is cool. There's a lot of leniency in that. But it really just depends on what you're doing that day and what's coming up. Because if there's something that weekend, you're getting as much done as you can. Yeah. Like if there's a tournament, especially in the summer, there's so much going on. There's soccer, there's softball, sometimes you got football camps. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, you get the whole spectrum in the summertime.
Exactly.
But we talked about it a little bit, but I just want to ask specifically, the camaraderie between you and the people you work with. Is it generally good, or I know you mentioned it's a lot of students. Yeah. But the other people that you work with, is it all generally a good vibe?
Absolutely. Everybody loves each other. Like we all do great. There's just 6 of us. There's 6 dudes, and we just we shit on each other all the time.
Yeah.
But, it's just what dudes do.
Good.
And so there's 3 students, and there's 3 managers. One of them's not technically a manager, but he is treated as a manager because he has the seniority to do so. Mm-hmm. And so like when the 3 of us, the 3 students go out to do a job, we're always complaining, and like just it feels like a high school job at that point sometimes.
It's still kind of fun.
But when you do cool stuff, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, and then, but like when the 6 of us have to go out and do something, like we're able to work fast, we're able to work hard, we're able to work efficiently. It's great. So it's a lot different than it is in the shop than it is out in the field, which is cool. But there is, between the stuff that's been going on between the school and our crew, like the budget's been cut and all that, there's been a little bit of tension between the super. But people have kind of gotten through that and understood because he's been there for so long, and they just, it's kind of hard to manage that kind of stuff at some point.
But it still seems, generally speaking, pretty
yeah,
decent.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
good time.
When we take a quick step back too, and do you want to talk about your job that you had in Texas for a little while there too?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just the summer, so it was what, 3 months?
Yeah. So I went down there. It's actually kind of a funny story. So I took the job, and I had my finals. I got my wisdom teeth out the Friday night, finals week. I drove down to Texas Saturday morning with my dad. My dad had to drive the whole way because I was on Vicodin. And then moved into my apartment, slept all day Sunday, and then I was in a truck on Monday working. But it was really cool. It was just, they called me down, they wanted me to irrigation tech, which is basically just being a sprinkler guy. And by the end of the summer, I was driving my own truck. I had my own helper who didn't speak English. And we would just go, I'd have 4 appointments a day. You show up, ask what the problem is, they tell you what it is, you fix it. If you can't finish it that day, you come back the next day, you do it. And you keep going and going, make a little bit of commission. Worked out pretty well. So they gave me a lot of freedom, which was really great. And a very steep learning curve, but once I got over it, it was really easy to maintain.
What kind of jobs? Was it the same deal, or?
For them, it's not like I was like mowing and pruning. It was like I was digging holes and I was cutting pipes and like fixing valves, doing a lot of work with
Well, I imagine in Texas there's a lot of the irrigation, like
Absolutely.
more so than
because it's hot year round.
Yeah,
just about. And these people for the most part, tend to have a bit more money, so they're willing to splurge on landscaping. The business in Texas is just so much more dense than it is anywhere else in the U.S. from what I've seen. And these people, they just want these ridiculous things. Like I worked for this lady who she had this fountain, and I would manage it, and it was like this giant pirate ship. It was like 25 feet long. And then she had this giant skull at the top of the mast, and it was just like throwing up water over. It was so excessive, but she wanted me on the like to work the clock for it, and it was a Rainbird clock, which is one of our contractors. So I knew it very well, so I just had to program it. It was really easy, but I was just like, is this like you don't see this shit anywhere else in the country, like only in Texas. But no, it was really cool. It was a lot of freedom. Learned a lot of Spanish. Just kind of, it was my first real job of like having a lot of freedom and like being responsible for myself, which was great. So
yeah, and I imagine that commission bump is pretty nice.
Yeah, it was more. All the other jobs that I've talked to do not offer the commission rate that place did. So it was impressive. So
Texas.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else about the job in general?
I was just gonna say it's really nice not being micromanaged by somebody. Like
Yeah,
being able to have that freedom is the biggest game changer, at least for me.
Yeah.
Well, so. I've always avoided that my whole life. Yeah, wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But all right, do you have anything to just to wrap this part up? For I don't know, we talked about it before. The people that want to get into this type of field, do you have any
some advice? Yeah. Learn how to speak Spanish, and start working early. That's the biggest thing. Definitely working in the summers is huge. It may only be 3 or 4 months out of the summer or out of the year, but those are the most crucial. That's the most crucial time of year to work. And Spanish is such a universal language.
Yeah.
It's something that employers look for on resumes, and it's very, very important, especially in this industry, more so than most others.
Yeah.
So.
No, I've worked in a lot of restaurants. Spanish
Yeah,
is very
important.
So what kind of companies are you looking for? So you're telling people to go try to internship somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're not looking for like Joe's Landscaping over here. Is it like?
Well, yes and no,
what's
but
the cues?
the thing is to get started in this industry, like you have to dig holes. You got to go out into the yard and you got to get sweaty. You got to get nasty. You got to get cut up. Like you got to do that. Like you can't manage a team of people who are digging holes without digging a hole yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've learned that's very important. It's like you can't, like I've worked for managers who don't know what I do. Like they don't understand. Like I'll tell them, I'll go and be like, hey, I went to this property, I replaced valve A, B, and C and rerouted the main line this way, and they'll be like, okay, so what exactly does a main line do again? Like you can't, as a manager, you can't miss this stuff,
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it's very important to start from the bottom. You have to work your way up. You have to be versatile. You have to learn how to drive a backhoe. You have to learn how to repair a backhoe. You have to learn how to sharpen your shovel. You got to learn how to dig a hole the right way. You got to learn how to protect your pipes when you're digging. You got to be an electrician. You got to do all this kind of stuff. And if you can start early, and if you can be efficient at everything, if you can just be basic at everything, like employers would much rather have somebody who's very basically versatile instead of having somebody who's really good at one thing and can't do anything else. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, because that they'd have to call that one guy in for like one job. And
exactly. It's like the company I worked for this summer. They had a guy who his specific job was just to repair main lines. So he was just running around all day, and I'm like, that's not efficient. Like if you train 2 or 3 more guys to do this, and then you train him how to do everything else, you're fine. Like you don't have to. You're wasting so much gas on that. Like this guy was running from like 60, 70 miles away a day.
Jeez. For
like a main line, and then he'd be running back to the shop. So it was just, it's inefficient.
I did a job like that for about a week where it was just like this guy was running around contracting for like stores, like retail stores. And I was like, you're coming all the way out here for like $40?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Yeah, exactly. So be good at everything is what I'm saying.
So what kind of places are you looking for though? So would somebody's like just a locally owned landscaping business, would they do all this kind of stuff? Or
so
like, when you think landscaping, it's just, most people think grass.
Yeah, no, of course. And landscaping is a very broad term because it's like you can go down to Joe's Landscaping down the street and he'll be like, yeah, I'll cut your yard every week and I'll trim your trees, but that's it. Then you go down to Bill's Landscaping, he'll be like, yeah, I'll put in a new irrigation system for you, but I won't touch your trees. So it just, everybody's different.
So it's all very specific to what you're looking for.
So it's like when you're inquiring about this kind of stuff, either as a customer or as a prospect, you have to ask them like, what do you specialize in? And for me, I'm looking for companies that don't do irrigation, because I'm like, I can put something new on the table for you guys, basically, because it's very, there's a huge deficit for irrigation technicians nowadays. So yeah.
That's
so one of the things that is
smart to.
Did that attract you to it? The fact that there is a need for that?
That was actually something I found out after the fact. After my internship. I think
that's a good fact to put out there, though. Like
it is, and it's a really cool field. It's really interesting. If you're not afraid of like a little bit of manual labor and working with some really cool guys who may not speak English, like it's really interesting. I think it's really cool. It's you go to a house and you just solve a big puzzle, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you put it like that, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's just a lot more hard work.
The work seems very fulfilling too. I mean, we've talked about it a couple of times, but like being able to see it too. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, my favorite thing was you go to a house and this lady comes out and she's upset and she's like, "This is leaking and my roses died and I'm so mad and my husband left me." And you're like, "Okay, well, I can't fix the last part, but you're out in your yard for 3 or 4 hours and then you come back and she's crying. She's so happy that everything's running and working. And it's so little, but it means so much to so many people.
Well, yeah, you get to be a hero.
Exactly, in like a really weird way. I don't know. Some people don't give a shit, but like a lot of like there's
I just picture someone listening to this and then going into their first job and it's like, "Hey, I'm a hero," and just some big fat text coming out like, "Beat it, kid. You did your job."
Yeah. That's kind of what it is. But some people like if you open the back of a controller, it's just a bunch of wires. Like, it makes sense to me, and it's actually really basic. But like, I'll open a controller and somebody be like, "Oh my god! Like, do you know what you're doing? Is it the red wire or the blue wire?" I'm like, well, I don't know yet. But no, it's not as hard as it sounds. It's just a big learning curve. And once you get over it, it's very easy to understand. So,
well, good.
Yeah.
All right. I think that wraps it up nicely. You want to get into some of the fun stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Do we wrap up your day? Like, you just walk home usually?
I just, I come back to the shop,
campus.
tell my boss, I'm like, "Hey, you got anything else?" He's like, "Nope." I'm like, "Cool, I'm leaving." He's like, "All right." Sign the little binder and
nice and
ride home.
loose with the time card system. I like that.
Yeah, not very regulated.
Now, I'm going to run through our standard one, but we have been workshopping this all week.
Okay.
So we're getting some new stuff, so I might toss some of these in
Yeah,
afterwards.
absolutely.
This is my favorite part of everything, just because it doesn't really pertain to the job. It just like gets people in your personality.
Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on this already, but what do you have for breakfast?
So usually ideally, if I could have the same thing for every day, I would have oatmeal with almonds and a banana. Like, that's ideal.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of peanut butter in there.
Yeah.
If I'm balling out, I'll get a burrito.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, all right, we covered a little bit. Let's go. Let's go a little bit
There's
crazy.
a nice little burrito stand on campus that we'll take a little detour to on our way doing our trash route. So
Nice little breakfast burrito.
yeah,
All
it's
right.
spicy as shit, so it's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely, this night of morning. Yeah. Best advice you ever got?
Best advice I ever got is be selfish.
Okay.
It's just put yourself first, especially when it comes to employers. Like, it's like if you, for example, somebody that we know that we were just talking to, you're talking to two employers at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the job you really want, and then there's the job, you take it if you need it, right? That job offers you, they're like, "Hey, like, we want you on." And you're like, "Okay, cool." But then the job you really want tells you a week later, "Hey, we want you." If it's best for your career, you drop that job a weekend and you hop over, right?
Be selfish.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's something my dad told me.
I like
Another
that.
I like that a lot. Actually.
Another
Never
thing he
heard
told me is make friends with rich friends.
Also great
That's
advice.
also great advice.
He's a Malcolm Gladwell thing, isn't that part of one of his books?
Well, there's like, I can't remember how it's worded off the top of my head here, but it's like you are the average of the 3 or 4 people you hang out with the most, or something like that.
Yeah, that
It's
sounds
like
about right.
Getting
Something
around
like
those
that.
people, yeah.
Okay, what movie do you think you viewed the most?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, good answer.
Mm-hmm.
What's your biggest fear?
Oh, God. Probably being really shitty at what I do and everybody hating me.
All right.
Or snakes.
Yeah.
You're the first one to actually say something like snakes.
Yeah.
I think Dylan on the first episode was spiders.
Oh, yeah, his was just spiders. Yeah.
And then I made
Very
fun of him
heroic,
on another
Dylan.
episode for saying spiders. Okay. Favorite candy? If you could have any candy in the world.
Oh, man. There's these things in South America called Sour Jacks.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Sour Patch Kids, but they're like Sour Patch Kids are just a little too much. It's a little too sugary. They're perfectly sour. But it just kind of like hurts your teeth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Sour Jacks were just like perfect. So.
I've had them. I disagree, but I'll accept the answer.
Yeah, well, I thought the same until I had Sour Jacks.
I
My
gave you that
mindset
sour
has
shit
changed.
last night from Japan.
That was pretty crazy.
That's some of the most sour shit I've ever had in
Yeah.
my life. Childhood hero.
Oh man, probably Heinz Ward, honestly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
good.
know. I was way more into football when I was a kid than I am now, but
How long were you here in Pittsburgh?
till I was 8.
8.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then I moved to the West
Some
Coast.
formidable years.
Yeah.
What kind of soap do you use?
Soap.
Soap.
Oh boy, Old Spice.
Old
But when I
Spice.
am at my parents' house, they always have Axe for me, and I make me feel really uncomfortable. But
Yeah. It's like, what are you guys running a frat house here?
Yeah,
Not
seriously.
bad. What's the last pic you took on your phone?
oh god, I'm kind of afraid.
It's like, you don't have to show me, but just,
I
you
gotta.
get an idea.
It was my boarding pass for my flight home tomorrow.
Okay, no,
Actually.
that's good.
And aside from that, it is a picture of me shoved through a child's window at Sorgel's.
Pet peeve. Your biggest pet peeve.
Oh, and people chew loud. Shove them against the wall and choke them out.
Oh. I'll leave the room. I do it all the time. I'm just like, I have to leave.
Just get up.
I'm
fuck you,
too
and
I'm
leave.
too polite to like say something.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
I won't say
Even if
anything,
I'm,
but I was
like-
like, I gotta walk away.
Even if I'm like close with the person,
Mhm.
you know, even if I like one of my roommates did it last year and it just drove me nuts, but I didn't say anything because I was trying to be a nice person. But I was like, okay, you're gonna learn eventually.
Feel free to tell me. And
You're fine. No, you are fine. The guy I
Well-
lived with is so bad. Like you thought anybody in this family is bad. No.
We'll bring something else up off air later.
Okay.
What type of music do you like and why?
Definitely old school West Coast hip hop.
Covered that already?
Yeah,
Why?
absolutely. It's just, you know, it's just something I've been listening to it since I was like 14, 15. It's just been in my blood. So I was super into downhill longboarding when I was a kid. Like I would race and everything, and like that was the music I would put in, and it would just get me so pumped and just like so ready to just throw myself down this hill and like hope there's not a car around the corner. Like that was the stuff I just loved to listen to. And then I've slowly grown to like more electronic music too, and that's just the stuff I like to see live. I love to see that stuff in person. Like that's the stuff that really makes me like so happy in person.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And on a side note, can we talk about your longboarding for a little bit? Because
yeah.
I've only seen pictures of you,
Yeah.
but I was like, gee, he's gonna die. Somebody stop him.
Stop. What's he doing?
So just give me into how you got into it, what it was like to get involved in doing it on a semi-professional level, I guess.
Amateur is
Amateur
what I
level?
consider it. I started.
Something that would make me shit my pants.
Yeah.
you did regularly.
It was the 7th grade wood shop. I made my first longboard. I'd hardly ever stood on a board before.
Yeah, you made a fucking longboard.
It was the
in high school?
shittiest fucking thing you've ever seen.
I don't care. I
It's
made
still-
no,
it's-
no.
it's
Everyone
not-
else
you
makes
see- get on the
cutting
West
boards.
Coast,
You see
everyone
the
loves to hear.
you see the
kick-ass
cutting board my
longboards.
dad made?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but 6 feet long.
With the pattern.
Yeah. But with 3 pieces of wood, not like 30.
Oh.
So I made one of those. Bought the trucks online, screwed them in. Rode around a little bit, bought a new one like 6 months later, rode that around a bit, and then my buddy just comes bursting through my yard, opens my door, he's like, you have to watch this video, and these guys are they have these little like hockey pucks on their hands, but
Yeah.
they're made out of like cutting board, like that plastic cutting board material.
Yeah.
And he's like, you gotta watch this video, guys. Like, they're putting their hands down, they're sliding over the road. I was like, oh, that's sick. So we make these gloves. Like, I go grab some yard gloves that my mom had. I go take one of her old cutting boards. We take a hacksaw to it, cut a little circle out, and glue it on. And we're just like sliding all over the road. It was super cool. And then like fast forward to like 11th grade in high school, I'm like traveling with this company to Canada to race. And I have like a suit and everything, and it was crazy. Like it just it just had escalated so fast. Like the first 2 years, we were just fucking around in our neighborhood, and then the year after that, I was like racing for the first time, and I was like, it just gave me such a rush when I was racing, though. Like just being able to be faster than people and like get in a draft and pass and all this shit. Like it was just awesome.
It's very
That's
intense.
awesome, yeah.
It's super awesome. I always love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But give me just so we can move on. What's the quick rundown from that day your buddy shows up to like you're in a traveling company? Give me just the broad strokes of the middle right there.
So there's the learning to slide stage.
Okay.
Then there's the I know how to slide, but I can't stop myself safely stage. And then-
That's where I
That's where you
catch
hurt
myself,
yourself
like,
the most.
Oh, I'm gonna get hurt.
That's where you hurt yourself the most because you're overly confident. And that's where I got these 2 scars on the back of my knuckles and basically everything on my elbows from like one individual fall. And I just went down this hill I shouldn't have gone down.
Yeah.
Hurt the shit out of myself. Thought I could slide, couldn't.
And this is just for the record. This is Seattle at the time.
Yes, this is out in Washington. And so I'm doing all that, and then you just get to this point where you're so comfortable you can go down just about any hill. Whether you go down it fast or not is like one thing, but being able to comfortably go down just about any hill in front of you was really cool. Like you hit this point where you're like, I feel comfortable. Like I was driving around with my parents, I'm like, I feel comfortable skating this. Like we were driving up to the mountains or whatever, and I was like, I could skate this, I could skate that, whatever. And then you get to the point where you're like, I can skate everything fast. Like I can push myself on these hills.
Mm.
And that's where things really got like dangerous. So, a little side note. This is kind of what weaned me off of it. And I realized my life was a little bit more important than skateboarding. So we went up to Canada to race probably, oh gosh, like 2 summers ago. And it was just a week of just like drinking and skating, and it was great. And it was super fun. And then like we like wake up early this one morning before a race. The race started at like 9. And we woke up at like 4 or 5. And we drove up to this neighborhood because it was like super well known in Canada, and I won't say the name because I want to protect it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to respect these spots.
That's fair.
And so we go there, and we're taking these runs, and we're driving the van to the top, and you know we're getting shuttled, which is great. And then it was I was like, okay, like I'm gonna take a run, and then I'm gonna take a nap before this race. Literally in the first corner, I'm right behind my buddy Brad, and he slides out in the first corner, washes out on the outside corner, and this big white truck comes around in the opposite lane. Like, we're going to right hand corner. This thing is like a foot from the sidewalk. And I just slid right into it. I hit my chest right on the front left bumper.
Jesus Christ.
Luckily, he was stopped when I hit him. Like, because he was...
Still, though.
Like, he was in the opposite lane, but he was going slow, which is good. So I slid right into him, and I was just, like, laying on the ground, and I saw the bumper right above me. And I could feel the wheel, like, right here on my chest. Like, it wasn't like pressing on it, but I was like, if he was 2 inches forward, I would have lost my ribs.
Ooh,
and I was like, I looked at this guy, and I was just like, oh, you need to fucking grow up, man. And I finished. I got up because I was okay. I put my board down. I ran off because I didn't want to deal with the guy. We finished the run. I get in the van. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. That's it. Like, I raced to that day, and then I was done. Like,
so none of these roads that you go on, they're not private at all. Like,
no, these are
could just ride.
No, we would go on Google Maps, man. If we saw a bunch of squiggles and it was downhill, like we just drove out there and skated it, and
Jesus Christ!
until somebody yelled at us.
I mean, that's badass. I gotta admit that, super badass. But like, yeah, that's that moment that you got lucky.
Yeah, but it's like when
It's
you're
alright.
like when you're, you know, what was that, like 13, 14 when you start, like you're not thinking about these things.
No.
You're just trying to go as fast as fucking possible.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't until I was like 20 that I was like, I need to fucking stop, you know?
Yeah, this might not be good long term.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Okay, I'm really glad we went down that digression. We'll go back.
I could give you a whole podcast on just that shit, dude.
Oh,
honestly.
we could definitely do that.
Come back to that
We
one.
could definitely do that.
Yeah, man.
Let's go here. What do we do? Last pick on your phone. Blah, blah, blah. Spicy food, not spicy food.
Big spicy guy.
Big spicy. Oh yeah, we talked.
Yeah,
about
we've
that.
had this conversation
Yeah.
about our Thai food.
That was good. Yeah. Don't tell the chef I'm white.
Yeah, exactly.
10, and don't let him know I'm white. Let's see, what's the hardest time you ever laughed?
Oh. What is that? It's a comedy. Is it the Andre show?
The Eric Andre
The Eric
show?
Andre.
Oh,
So
Eric Andre.
I went out, and my friend she just turned 21, and she had this weed and wine pairing night.
Mm.
So we got high and drank a little bit of wine. I came home. My roommates are watching this. They're all sober, and I come in. I watch an episode. And I'm crying. I am on the floor. I fell off the couch. I'm curled up in a ball, and I'm sobbing. And I'm just like, this is the funniest fucking show I've ever seen. I watched it sober the next day, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
That,
Like,
I think that's Eric Andre just knows how to tap into that, like, the inside of your brain and make
Yeah.
you lose your mind.
Yeah, so that was a trip. All right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Tipping custom.
Tipping custom, 20%.
Good.
If I'm in a foreign country, let's see.
Well, I mean, it all depends on where you are.
It was because I was in Peru for a couple months, and it was like some people were telling me it's 20%. Some people were telling me you don't tip. Other people telling me it's like 30%. So it was like the whole time I stuck to like 10, 20%. And then the last month I was just like, fuck it, I'm not tipping. And so I just
Who are the people divulging this information, though?
I
Who's the
don't
ones
know. These are not
These aren't
trusted
friends of
sources,
yours?
but I
Yes.
was just trying to save a buck, and I was a piece of shit, and I bought it. So
The waiter or waitresses were like, "Oh yeah, it's 30%."
yeah, everybody told me something different, so I went for the cheaper option, of course.
Hey, when in Peru.
Yeah, we said that quite a bit.
Let's see. If someone gave you $1,000 right now, what would you do with it?
Oh boy, do something stupid. Probably. I'd probably like go skydiving and then buy a ticket to like. I'd honestly probably just go to Mexico.
Huh.
And just see how far $1,000 can get me.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Now, on that note, what would you do what would your 18-year-old self do with $1,000?
Go to Mexico, but skate.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Favorite vegetable?
I like Brussels sprouts.
One of the few. I've just recently started to really appreciate the Brussels sprout, but
I gotta do them right.
I
gotta do them right.
He's right.
It's the goddamn hoity-toity restaurants that just nail it.
And they put,
I hate these are so good.
Or they put like nuts and shit on
them.
it.
Like pine nuts going on.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you bastards. Making me like that shit.
Yeah.
All right, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully owning a business.
Fair enough.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Favorite cocktail?
I like an old fashioned with a rye.
No doubt. Excellent choice.
Yeah.
What's something you wish you'd learned earlier?
Start learning Spanish earlier.
I agree.
Yeah.
I would have. My second grade self, like, Spanish, do it now.
Being bilingual is such a skill. Like, it's so people do not stress how important it is until it's too late. And then you're like, oh,
if you live in any major city in America,
yeah,
it's fucking important.
Yeah.
Or at least at the bare minimum, helpful.
If you live in a city in America, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
I was 4 years on German, and I only know how to say swear words that they didn't even teach me.
Exactly. What kind of toothpaste do you use?
Colgate.
All right. Brand loyal. I like it.
Yeah.
Something you'd change about yourself?
I wish I was smarter. I probably would have done botany, honestly, if I could hang.
I mean, I guess that counts as a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do botany, but I didn't do well in the class, and I was like, yeah, you can't fucking handle a major of this.
It takes a certain type of person.
It does, and I'm not that type. But my girlfriend's smarter than me, so I'm just going to be a stay-at-home dad. So.
There you go. Get some smart kids, you'll be all right.
Word.
Yeah.
Childhood celebrity crush.
Oh my God, what's her name? Who played Padme in in Star Wars number 4 or 1?
I wouldn't.
Fuck. You just caught me off guard. We were just talking Natalie Portman.
Yes,
Natalie
dude.
Portman.
I remember being at a sleepover when I was like 6 years old with my friends, and I was like, I would marry the shit out of Natalie Portman.
I'd marry the
That's
shit
crazy
out of
because we have such an age difference, and that's definitely one of my childhood.
Yeah.
Natalie Portman.
Because it's like this, it's like she's one of the only hot girls and one of the only films you were able to watch that age, right?
That I had Winona Ryder too.
yeah.
Huge. It's Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder. It's like, God.
Yeah, fuck. You make a good point.
What are you gonna do? Where are we at here? If you could do anything, like any job in the world, what would you do? We're talking.
Ooh.
You don't have to change anything about yourself. You could just do it. Like you'd have that degree. You'd have that
knowledge.
You'd have that knowledge. Anything in the world.
Gosh, I've thought about this so many times, and I've never come up with a good answer. But realistically, just be like a part-time superintendent at like a really good golf course, and I'd like work half the day and then like golf half the day, and then just like go home at like 2.
That's not
like that would be ideal.
That's a good answer. I think you're the second person to pick golf.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the other one was pro.
Oh
like
shit.
Pro golf player.
No, I just fucking love dirt so much.
All right.
I like dirt.
Sleep habits. Do you have any kind of sleeping ritual? Anything that helps you get to bed at night?
Not really. I'm just...
You one of these motherfuckers that just fucking sleeps at the snap of a finger?
No, but I know a kid like that.
I know a family like that.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I didn't get those genes either. No. I mean, if I'm waking up before 8, I'm trying to be in bed by midnight. If my goal is like, if I can shoot between 7 and 9 hours, I'm good.
Well, that's
anything
that's
anything
the
more
ideal.
anything more or less, and I'm just like something's fucked up. Like
Yeah,
I can't
you
see
gotta
straight,
get that little window.
or like my eating is messed up. Like something's up. You know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but
all right, but I always strive for that. That's a personal thing for me. I always ask that. So I was like, "You got any advice?
yeah.
I want to go to bed." All right.